Perfect. What's up, guys? This is episode 33 of the American Hybrid Athlete podcast. This is my third effort to record a podcast and get this thing uploaded for you from my channel. So, apologies on the delay. It's been like 5 weeks now up to this point. So, I'm trying to record the same exact conversation, which I've already done twice. So, hopefully, that means I'm good at the conversation and I talk about everything that I want to talk about. And we cover all the bases. But just a quick recap for those of you who haven't really followed my content that closely yet and are kind of new viewers, new users of my channel. And like and subscribe, obviously. But I basically am a kind of transition from an endurance athlete into a kind of hybrid athlete, now leaning more into just straight up like weightlifting and bodybuilding. A little bit of CrossFit mixed in with kind of like, heavy, higher volume, high intensity weight training, trying to bulk up to about 210, 212 pounds, since leaving, stopping running marathons and doing Ironman. So my last marathon was May of 2024, and I'm now basically, over a year removed from that race. So right now, body weight's around 205, 206, and I raced at 180 pounds, 181. So pretty much put on about 25 pounds of body weight. Most of it's lean, so I'm happy with kind of the process that I took. And this particular episode, I'm going to get into kind of the discoveries and the midterm progress and processes that I've made. And I've kind of, some of them have been like aha moments for me to where I realized, maybe I should, rest a little bit more on this particular time of the week, or, do this exercise differently, whatever. So obviously there's tons of input, tons of information out there. Obviously, when you get more advanced in fitness, it's kind of your responsibility to find out what works best for you, diet-wise, sleep-wise, hydration-wise, execution-wise. Everything kind of, contributes and goes into the equation of how best can you execute your fitness? How best can you make gains and make progress quickly and efficiently without, kind of sacrificing. Obviously, if you don't want to use steroids, then there's, you're never going to, peak or be, as good as those guys that use gear. That's one thing. But my perspective, I always take the approach, just kind of work very hard, obviously be disciplined, be dedicated. Obviously, that's a given. If you want to make the most progress, but also learn how to challenge yourself with kind of the regimen that you take, the repetitions, challenge yourself with kind of where you insert maybe a variety or a variation of what you're expecting, or find new ways to challenge yourself. Creative ways to challenge yourself is obviously just kind of maybe change the last exercise of a workout, instinctually kind of dig into what feels the best. I've used kind of examples of back day, for example, where, I do cable rows. I do seated cable rows a lot because I really feel the squeeze on my back, and my back has made some good progress, made some good gains, just because I'm basically focusing on my elbows where they're placed and pulling kind of really hard, basically using my elbows to drive and pulling hard, leading with my elbows and not really focusing on my hands. My hands are literally there just to hold the bar or the rope or whatever it is when I'm doing, seated cable pulls, cable rows, and then really get into that workout and kind of expend the majority of my energy on that exercise for a back day. I'm still doing pull-ups and stuff, but I've discovered that that's in terms of feeling the work in terms of actually getting a back pump, which is kind of hard to do. When you get more advanced, you kind of realize that the hardest body part, I think, to get a pump in is the back. Arms and shoulders are easy because so much blood is just, rapidly going to that muscle. But when it comes to back workouts, that's an example of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about kind of intensely going after variations in your week, in your day, in your kind of your midterm, these mesocycles of 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, don't get caught up in. There's two sides of this coin. One of the sides is don't get caught up in not making that much progress for a month or so. I've had months where, and I look back on them and I think maybe I could have done a few things differently, but I'm sleeping 7-8 hours a day. My hydration's good. I'm not missing days working out. I'm going to the gym at least 6 days a week. I'm taking light days when I need to rest and try to recover, but I still see maybe my body's changing. There's a metamorphosis of how I look, my physique, but body weight doesn't really go up. Strength really kind of stays the same. I kind of plateau, I think. But I think when we get to that point, especially there's it can be discouraging, but what I'm talking about, what I want to talk with you about is when you take that initiative to find ways, little advantages, little mental edges, or little tweaks in your schedule to improve efficiency, to improve output, to kind of maybe challenge yourself where you felt like there was no challenge before. I think like if you work out really hard at the end of a workout, you really feel like exhausted. You're like, man, I don't have much else to give. But in that point in time, that back workout example is one example. But I'm talking about like, obviously the mentality, the kind of the David Goggins type mentality of like, like it doesn't matter if you're tired or in pain or sore, just go do the work, go out and run or do whatever. Like there's kind of an edge that you get from that, but you also need to be able to like, pull back at the right time. So when I really feel like I'm ready to work out, like I have energy, my pre-workout's kicking in, I'm hydrated, I'm ready to roll, like I lean into that as much as I can. Like I increase in weight if I'm doing, whatever workout, I increase in the weight. I try to keep the same repetitions. At the end of the workout, maybe I add a set, I add a whole exercise sometimes. And I really like say, I'm going to get the most, I'm going to take advantage of this time where, maybe I had a good night's sleep. Like I'm coming off of maybe like a smaller body part day. Like I go from shoulders and then I go back to back day. So if I had a shoulders, for example, a shoulders working on Thursday, and then I feel like, okay, I'm ready. I worked a smaller muscle group yesterday. Like I got my work in, I got my recovery in. I hit the cold, hot cold therapy, whatever it is. I had some light cardio. I'm ready to go now. Then I said, all right, we're gonna just kill this. We're gonna crush this workout. And then I kind of like lean into that. And maybe I was planning like 3-4 exercises or something. Maybe working like a couple of arm exercises or whatever. I find a way to like kind of like get that edge and like really take advantage of that and zone in on that particular moment. And it may only last 3 to 5 minutes for an entire workout. You know what I mean? But I think the more advanced you get, you kind of know what I'm talking about. When you're really like connected to the workout, you're in the zone, your body feels good, you feel like you're executing, your form's good and everything. I think those are times where you really grow. It's almost like a NBA basketball player that like, hits some big shots in the fourth quarter for the first time. The next game, they're going to come in with more confidence. They're going to feel like, wow, like I can do this now. And I'm not afraid of like adding more weight or like, pushing towards failure or whatever, because it's hard to like, especially if you work out alone, like it's hard to like get out of that stuck, complacent mindset. And that's really the word that we're going after. We're attacking complacency. We're attacking the regular, normal individual. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Plenty of people work out just so they can, drink beer on the weekends, just so they can look good for their significant other, just so they can, not have to go to the hospital with health issues. That's fine. I'm not talking to you folks. I'm talking to the people that are a little bit more kind of crazy like I am, a little bit more dedicated, a little bit more like I want to be an elite athlete, or I want to be advanced. I want to like have longevity and really like grow my body and zone into the mental, kind of like advantage of the edge that I get in business and life and everything from working out at a high level and pushing myself through those tough times and those tough days. That's who I'm talking to. I'm talking about the approach you take where it doesn't really matter that, you don't feel the best. You still like sometimes I go to battle with myself of like, I know I don't feel good today, but how hard can I go when I don't feel good? If I'm going to be uncomfortable from 5 minutes into the workout to the last, an hour and 15 hour, 20-minute workout, I'm going to be uncomfortable for an hour and 15 out of an hour and 20-minute workout. How hard can I go? How dedicated, how disciplined can I be to where I know my form doesn't break down, but I push myself through and then I gain that mental edge, that mental advantage. Like I was talking about, like the NBA player that hits those big shots. If I really grind through like that workout, well, the next time the workout's easy, the next time I feel like flaking out or not, not doing my job, then I'm not gonna kind of like break mentally and allow myself to be complacent. So we're going after complacency because we are advanced athletes. You don't need to be a professional athlete that's making hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to take this stuff seriously. And that's what I really want to emphasize is there's enough going on in the world that why not take this seriously so that you can really, build your life and grow as an individual and grow as a human being. I mean, all the opportunities are there, especially like in this climate where fitness is growing, fitness is getting attention. Like there's Gymshark, there's large companies that are like, producing, fitness clothing, fitness equipment, everything's like the business, the industry itself is growing, and it's growing for people like us. Like we get to take full advantage at a reasonable price of all these great things. So that's another thing I wanted to mention is maybe if you're complacent and like, well, I've been doing barbell workouts like for, pretty much my whole life since I started lifting. That's fine. In my opinion, heavy barbell is like the best way to grow, especially for me. Like my legs have grown. I've gotten a lot stronger in my lower body because of like core, engage your core, do a heavy deadlift, do front squats, do all that stuff that's really challenging that you have to grind out. That's great. But I'm also talking about like, again, we're going after complacency, right? So when we go after like kind of the mundane details of this is traditional, this is what I'm not saying like do every like weird exercise or workout that you see online or that you see that someone recommends to you, but I'm saying like target that one, maybe that one for each body part, maybe target or find like one new tweak, new adjustment. It can be as simple as turning your wrists, maybe like on a dumbbell press, like turning them inside or something to like engage a different part of your lat or your delt, whatever it is. Or it can be a little bit more, sophisticated or a little bit more a bigger change, like, well, instead of change the order of, I've talked about this before, change the order of exercises in your workout, and then you might like feel differently about, during through the process, through one exercise you might feel like you're engaging more, like you get better results, or your overall volume, whatever it is, output, something gets better because of that adjustment. So I would encourage you to go across each body part and tell you and ask yourself the question, what can I do on a week to week basis now for like next month or so to really like push the issue and like force myself to grow more than I have been. Or definitely, if that's like more the motivation, the reason too, if you're dedicated, and sometimes you do get discouraged, like, man, I'm working my ass off, like I haven't seen results, but again, delayed gratification is one of the best parts of fitness, because you don't know when you're going to hit that just cross that plateau and then get into basically like a new level of performance to where, oh, this is the new normal, this is great. I was pissed off because for 2 months I wasn't getting my bench to go up, and all of a sudden one day you come in and you literally do 3 more reps. That happens, that's happened to me. It was great. Like I'm waiting for that next time to where my bench goes up, because I know I'm working hard at chest. I'm doing the right types of movements. I'm squeezing at the top and all that. My chest is getting bigger, but I'm not seeing that weight go up, but I know it's around the corner. So that's another thing. When you're fighting complacency, like you need to look forward and keep that positive mindset of, I don't see the results now immediately, but just like everything else